I'd lost my memory through a brain tumour. So I was quite fragmented. I had memories, but they needed to be triggered. So it was very difficult for me to actually sit there and say what I wanted to do, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I didn't know what I'd done before or how I could do it. So it was a case of really gathering all the pieces together. I felt Jet was a bit like sorting me out as a jigsaw puzzle. You know, I had all the fragments of what I was and who I wanted to be, but they had to look at me and identify certain aspects of me to help fit it together, to work out this mystery and this picture of how they could help me. And they did. It was fantastic. You know, within years I was sort of back into employment.
When I had my accident, my life changed a lot. I started to have back problems. Then all the procedure, I couldn't walk properly, I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything at all.
I kind of knew that I couldn't go the traditional route of finding a work. I've always wanted to keep kind of active, and I just knew that just going to shed loads of interviews. I don't think Social Security and what's now called Back to Work, but before then I don't think it was geared up and set up for people like me who have perhaps physical or mental issues or ailments.
Because I'm hard of hearing, and also I'm dyslexic, so that can do difficulties to get me into employment, and I needed someone to guide me and support me, to lead me through a career.
At the time, I had a job at a veterinary practice over here as a receptionist, which it was a very nice job, like the people I was working with, but there was no future there for me. I was going to be answering phones for the rest of my life, and I felt that I wanted to do more. My problem being that I had no confidence in myself. I'd sit down at a computer, I'd write down the words curriculum vitae, and then sit there for 4 hours not being able to write anything else. In terms of an interview, I thought I was unemployable.
I was scared of doing a full-time job, scared of moving on as normal, because I'm that kind of person. I don't like to leave no one down. Even if I'm not well, I'm going. So I like to fight for my own objectives and my own rules, my own goals and everything.
A number of years ago I had a brain tumour, and because of that I was assigned an occupational therapist, and we'd worked on fine motor skills and memory issues and things like that, and he knew that I was at that point where I wanted to develop further. You know, I wanted to get back into employment. So he said, right, this is the place. He brought me down here and said, look, this is the place. This is what we can offer.
The reason I came to the Jersey Employment Trust is because I wasn't enjoying my job at the moment, so I thought, and I had problems with my dyslexia and vocabulary disabilities and some other things. So, and I heard Jet was meant to help with people like it or with certain other disabilities. So I thought maybe, and I got suggested to it as well by family and some people teachers from school.
I went on to college, full-time education, and it was actually Highland that's introduced you to Jet. And so when I heard about it, I thought, oh, that's quite interesting. And then they introduced me at Highlands, and then I got a step forward and then joined in. So it's very new to me. I never heard of it before.
I was referred by States of Jersey psychologist. I was under his treatment for a number of months, and then as a progression from that treatment or from those consultancy sessions I had with the psychologist, he suggested that it might be a good idea to go and see Jet and to provide some sort of continuation of therapy, etc.
when Jet came along, they, looking of the field that I'm interested, and they sort of guide me, like looking into how to look into jobs, how to apply for a job, and also they give me sort of some ideas of guidelines for where you want to go in the future. So it's like a long sort of career.
After being diagnosed autistic spectrum, I was referred to the Jersey Employment Trust and was basically put in an environment where I could build my confidence. They allowed me to come in on days where I could just write a CV, to be able to bounce things off people at the Jersey Employment Trust, and to get an idea of what it was like to write a CV again. I was able to apply for jobs while I was there. I was able to do mock interviews. I was able to build up my confidence slowly and to have good pieces of advice that I was able to use in actual practical interviews.
The person who took me in was called Dean, who was showing me what other jobs I could do, explaining, asking what jobs I'm doing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told him I worked at the Baytree restaurant in St Peter's Gun Centre, he asked if I liked the hospitality there. I said yes, I like doing the waitering and hospitality. And he suggested I go to the Palm Door because he knew people there and was hoping I'd do a month there work experience.
Well, they did introduce one of your clients, who you'd be working with, and it's just like very general conversation, very relaxing sort of thing, and also looking in areas where you're looking for like try an interviewing technique, doing like some phone call techniques, and so yes, it's I find it very, very helpful, and also you're very relaxed in this building to make it feel that you're being helpful.
Well, the idea was because I'd been out of work, I'd suffered from depression, I had quite serious problems, in that there's no way I could even go for an interview, let alone do anything positive. So the idea was to embark on the Fast Path course as a starter, and that was absolutely brilliant. I did a day a week, and it got one from a very early stage back into what I would call a work ethic. In other words, it felt as though you were actually turning up for proper employment. It was a good office environment. They had a very professional team down there to help you with getting back into what I would call the work ethic.
Yes.
And FastPath itself, I think, was structured in such a way, it was an online training course. The one I did was initially Microsoft Office 2010.
Yeah.
And you could do it at your own pace, and you basically did each of the modules, then did an examination and progressed over a number of months.
When I came to JET, I thought, they're going to help me to find a job. But they helped me in so many things. They helped me in courses, computer skills, filling up CVs, confidence back on, how to behave in an interview, how to... A lot of things involve a lot of things, and the confidence and everything.
The team down there they were extremely good at what they were doing. They were providing you with support not only on the application, but you were treated like a real person, and it was a very, very good starting point for me.
Afterwards, I got shown to the Eagle House, where they did the hospitality training for 4 weeks. I got to meet some good people there as well, made some friends, and got to learn a bit more stuff about the hospitality industry.
To start with, they said, I've got a placement at Acorn. And I thought, well, I don't know that I've done retail in the past, but I don't know anything about plants, and I don't know anything about retail really anymore. Is that the right step? But actually, it really was the right step, because it gave me, an opportunity to see for myself what I could do, because I didn't really know what I was capable of. And it's a fantastically supportive team up at Acorn. So they helped me with any areas that I was concerned about or weak with, and they was able to give a supportive judgment and, help me with any difficulties that I might have.
The first thing I did, I saw a job advertising, and then I told Jet, I said, look, this is a job advertising. I said, okay. And I said, I'm very nervous how to speak on the phone.
Yeah, sure.
So she sort of like, right, there's your list, and we go over kind of things you need to ask. And once I got the confidence, I'm ready, it was quite nervous, but at least I had somebody, beside me. Went for an interview on my own, so that was a challenge.
Yes,
but I knew in my mind I always can go back to you guys. So right, I've got this issue.
Then I fill up this application form for this job.
Which job? Where was this job?
State of Jersey, accounts payable. I got successful, and I'm doing a full-time job. Amazing for someone who was scared to do a full-time job, doesn't it? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Once I was there, I felt more confident, because as well I'd lost social skills. So I'd lost language. I had to relearn the dictionary, because I knew words but I didn't know what any of them meant. So social skills has been a really difficult one for me to master. But it put me in that environment, because actually I was working with colleagues there and with the public.
I had the opportunity of starting off with some voluntary work. A guy called Marvin Curtis, who I'm extremely fond of Marvin. He's a brilliant guy, totally professional, committed. When he looks after you, he's totally focused on what you as a person and what your needs are, etc. And he got me a voluntary position, which I did for, goodness me, it was probably 2 to 3 months, something like that.
Okay, and where was that voluntary position?
Well, the voluntary position was with the Department of the Environment. So I spent 2 days a week up at Howard Davis Farm, and a day a week down at the Societe in Pier Road.
Yes.
Doing, it was quite a sort of I wouldn't call it basic, it was data inputting.
Data inputting, okay.
But you've got to start somewhere.
The Pomdor offered me a seasonal job, and then after I was finished my course of the hospitality, I had an interview with the Merton. That went well, and they offered me a seasonal job as well. And if I had the choice out of the two, I'd probably go back to the Pomdor. And then, but since I had to wait a month for the Merton, I went for another interview just in case something didn't go well. And
where was that at?
That was at the Radisson Blue Hotel. And that really went really well. And I got a job there as a concierge. So I got to try something new with different people, and it was quite fun.
And I love it.
Brilliant.
And I had all the support from Emma, Linda, Elizabeth, you, everyone. So basically, I can't be more than happy.
I found it incredibly, it was a very good experience, because when you've had a problem, you tend to be quite self-conscious when you go into a workplace, because you think to yourself, well, are people going to ask me about problems, or am I going to cope, etc. But there was never, and nothing was ever referred to, and it did work extremely well.
The best feeling was one of the first mornings, going out early in the morning and getting the bus with everybody else who was going to work. And I thought, it's such a simple thing, but I felt really excluded of society after I had the brain tumour and the operation, and your memory's lost. It's hard for friends to relate to you anymore because you're not the same person and you don't always remember them anymore either. So it's, you feel very isolated. But I knew I didn't like being in that environment of just being at home.
Yeah.
You know, I needed that stimulus. I wanted to be part of society. And as terrifying as that was, because it was terrifying trying to get back into it, it was just so nice that first morning, getting on a bus with everybody else who's going to work, feeling, I feel like a normal person.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got something to do with my day.
I'm doing my stage 2 plumbing. I'm about halfway through my first year. Pretty much already finished practical and going on doing a bit of the theory. And then after that, I'll be going on to do stage 3, and then I'll be qualified as a plumber and renewable energies installer.
Well, I did. I went from voluntary employment. I then was offered paid employment for 6 months. And after the 6 month, it was a contract for 6 months, designing databases for them, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
And I then, I was offered a job at BPP Education, which it wasn't a particularly long one. It was 2 to 3 weeks, something like that. Then I had a little stint up at Jersey Hospice. There again, it was all database related.
Yeah, sure.
In other words, computer related.
Yeah.
And certainly for the last year, I've been back at the Société on a voluntary basis, day a week, and I'm still there.
Actually, my first placement was supposed to be 6 weeks, but it ended up as being 3 months.
Okay.
I do apologise. My very first placement, I'm still there 2 years later, which was a volunteer guide at the Hugby for Jersey Heritage, or Heritage Jersey.
But what I actually do now is activities at a residential home. So I do some art and crafts, I do puzzles and things like that, but they're all to people who probably are where I was a few years back, who don't know how to move on, whose memory is failing through health issues. So I'm trying to offer them the stimulus that I needed to find and got help with.
But I always, go back and say, right, what can I achieve? Can you help me to get to another goal? And also what I find, when you pick up the phone, you want help. They're there. I had other experience in other places where they weren't. But with Jet, when you need somebody, it's there. And that's what I like.
Jersey Employment Trust, behind the scenes, they would obviously select specific job roles for you that they deemed suitable for you. And from that point of view, it opened doors that you wouldn't normally get. In other words, if they said, well, look, there is a job going at so-and-so, the chances are you would probably be invited for interview. And that is fantastic. Because when you're on your own, without support of Jet, the chances of getting an interview are pretty slim.
And even to this day, when I get, because of my confusion of social skills, I have contacted them and gone, this has happened in work, I'm not really sure, is that tone of voice acceptable? Is that, how do I interpret this? Because I still don't understand. Yeah. But they're always there, just to go, no, it's okay, or should we look into this, or do you need that support?
If someone had come up to me and say, what do you think of Jet? I would have said something very supportive, and you get as much help you need, and they will look after you and right through your end of your career, the end of your employment. So you always guarantee there's something there to support you.
Don't be scared, and I think just go for it. I think it is scary and it's horrible, but I think you'd regret not trying. And you don't, all the concerns that you might have about failing or being inappropriate or not feeling good about yourself, it's not an issue, because there's people here to support you to make sure that you are the best of yourself.
You've got nothing to lose. You might as well go for it, and there will be some way that they can help you. If they can help someone like me who has absolutely no confidence, then they'll be able to help anyone.
I would certainly encourage people to embark on FastPath. It doesn't matter how long it takes to complete the modules, because that is tremendously important to not only to do a structured course, but it's also tremendously important to meet people and talk to people and just talk about ordinary, everyday things. I found when I was trying to get gainful employment on my own, it was very, very disheartening sitting at home, completing CVs, and you can only do that for so long, being on your own. So the Jersey Employment Trust and FastPath gives you the opportunity to embark on a course and meet people.
Being offered help is nice. Taking it is a big step, and it's a big thing. But once you realise that you need help, is accepting it, and once you've accepted it, it's a big step. And once you've done that, then the world is not your oyster, but it certainly can be, and why not? You need help. This is a place to come.
One of the big difficulties that I experienced in the early days was confidence. Couldn't do anything. I'd go for an interview and basically I'd fluff it for whatever reason. But hopefully now that situation is long gone. It gives you a tremendous amount of confidence.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Fight, and never give up. Never, never. By coming to JET, I had my life back on. It's not the same. It never will be the same. But I'm happier now. I've got the smile on my face. I've got my eyes. I've got everything. I move on. I'm back. Yeah. So I recommend JET to every single person. Every single person. It's the best thing you can do is come to JET.